Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game. This game is going to be between LawLiet and D3xter. It is an all-the-random game taking place in the northern woods. LawLiet spawning as the random human player on the top left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, D3xter spawning as the blue night elf here on the bottom right. Should be a great game, and as always, just going to get to that 2-minute mark. Players are most likely just going to be setting up, getting up heroes, and then moving on from there. Alright, the heroes of choice are going to be, well, there's a footman, and it is going to be a shadow hunter, excuse me, going up against a death knight. Ancient of War already tanking a large amount of damage. Death Knight coming across here. There's some good healing. There's a death coil, and D3xter is trying to clear out this creep camp quickly, picking up a ring of protection +3. And then, well, excuse me, is that a +5? That is +5, so that's very big damage reduction early on in the game, and should definitely help as the Death Knight, well, has taken quite a bit of damage. Remember, the Death Knight normally fights on Blight, and that Death Coil is going to be used more as an offensive tool than anything else. After clearing out this level 5 creep camp here, should get up to level 2 easily. Meanwhile, Shadow Hunter has gone Serpent Wards first, has picked up a Scroll of the Beast, and we're looking at LawLiet setting up an expansion already with 6 of these peasants. Those Serpent Wards off to the north, 14 to 16 damage each. We're looking at a couple of, well, the peasants purposely all grabbed a bag of gold, and then going to start going back to work again, as lumber seems to be the main issue right now. You can see that lumber dropping quickly and then kind of getting filled back up. Nice micro there by LawLiet, as the Shadow Hunter purposely places down some Serpent Wards to act as a bit of a deterrent. Alright, Death Knight going to go straight after that Serpent Ward. That Serpent Ward not going to be that easy of a kill, as we see Healing Wave bouncing around as well. There's a Death Coil. One peasant could get taken down. There's another Serpent Ward down as well, as the, well, Prawn going to be able to focus out a little bit of those units again. Alright, that little Prawn getting chased away once more. Death Knight now being forced to pull back. 4 peasants left. 2 of them were taken down. No Rod of Necromancy, however, as the Death Knight does have Night Elf. Well, Night Elf shop, not the Death Knight shop. Alright. LawLiet picking up a Reef Elemental here from that footman. Are we going to see some damage go down onto that one little guy here? And LawLiet also getting the Storm Reaver Hermit. Alright, so the Storm Reaver Hermit does have access to Purge. Are we going to see a Purge on that Death Knight? Most likely not, as the Water or the Reef Elemental trying to escape back. Its movement speed is slow, though, so it is very difficult to try and keep track or keep up with that, well, faster moving Storm Reaver Hermit, who has that average move speed. Storm Reaver Hermit now trying to retreat all the way back home. Is he going to be able to get back easily? We're going to see both of these guys fighting here. Death Knight could be in a little bit of trouble. There's that Unholy Aura. We're going to see a little bit of damage. Serpent Wards going down. That Serpent Ward should get focused down pretty quickly by the archers, as the units are now looking to back up again. Alright, Shadow Hunter does have a Scroll of the Beast, not necessarily what he's looking for. There's a Serpent Ward acting as a bit of a deterrent. That's 600 range, greatly outranging these archers right now with 500, as we are looking at an Arcane Vault Scout Tower and perhaps a Blacksmith in just a little bit. Not having access to Brilliance Aura could be a bit of a problem, and we're also looking to see what the second heroes are going to be. D3xter going to be training up a second hero in just a moment. Meanwhile, we see a Tree of Life off to the north here. That's going to try and clear out that gold mine creep camp. Perhaps also give level 3 to the Death Knight, and then come back bigger, stronger, better, faster. As the Shadow Hunter, placing down some Serpent Wards. Gonna try and pick up a Circlet of Nobility. There's a Dust of Appearance as well. Both sides taking this opportunity to clear out creep camps, as the tech to tier 2 is already done on the southern side. D3xter needing another 30 some odd seconds for that expansion. Not that expansion, excuse me. Well, maybe the expansion. Oh yeah, that was right there too. Serpent Ward poking across on that Death Knight. Footman getting a little bit lost in transit. We're looking at, well, a Wisp quickly getting taken out, and perhaps we're going to see, well, an Ancient of War getting pressured just a little bit. That Ancient of War having melee attack, but able to deal damage to that Serpent Ward in that first hit. So I guess the melee range is actually quite far as we see the Centaur Outrunner coming across onto the battlefield here. All right, Shadowhunter is sitting at level 2. We see LawLiet now using the Tuskar Sorcerer as well. So slow is being applied, and this is interesting. LawLiet really using this early economic advantage to try and grab as many mercenaries as they can. Footman, well, trying to defend back a bit of that damage as well. We're looking at the Tuskar Sorcerer doing a little bit of poking. There's Dexter's Centaur Outrunner, and both sides are fighting their way through. A single Shadowhunter sitting at level 2 going up against a level 3 and a level 1. This could be a little bit problem as the the Shadowhunter now gets up to level 3. They could continue to poke down this Ancient of War, and that is going to spell a bit of a problem as the Serpent Ward's 27 to 30 damage is going to shut down this Ancient of War now. All right, a little bit more damage here, just a little bit more. It does get felled as the archers, well, still reflecting or getting some of that damage reflected back. There goes the Outrunner. Footman going to get taken down as well. So it's just a Shadowhunter and a Tuskar Sorcerer going up against the Death Knight, Pit Lord, and a pair of archers. More Footmen coming over to reinforce. We're looking at quite... Oh, I thought that Hermit Crab could have been hexed down for a second there. No. Just perhaps gotten in the way of that cleave damage as the Shadowhunter should not be able to... I don't think it's going to be able to finish off that Archer. Archer having access to too many MoonWells as the Shadowhunter now needs to retreat back at 208 hit points. Shadowhunter down to 71. We're looking at the, well, Death Knight with Unholy Aura. Perhaps we're going to see a little bit of a heal. All right. What are we going to look at here? The Marauder coming across, and there's a little bit of damage there. And, well, that Death Knight does not want to be part of this here. All right, Death Knight going up against a Footman. There's that Marauder. It does give command or a Shadowhunter. There's a Serpent Ward. It's getting placed down. The Shadowhunter kind of trapped himself into the back of a corner. Down to 21. Are we going to see a Scroll of Town Portal? We are. Damage now going down onto the Death Knight. Death Knight now down to 127 hit points, taking quite a bit of damage before getting, well, away easily. 67 hit points. I had forgotten about that little bit of extra damage that those Serpent Wards were going to do. Once the Scroll of Town Portal went off, I thought, well, the Death Knight is safe. But no, those Serpent Wards still dealing lingering damage nearly took down that Death Knight. All right, 4 Ice Troll Trappers. Death Knight staying nearby. Well, needs to find a way to heal. Not having access to heals perhaps going to be a problem. But the Death Knight Pit Lord combination does work out fairly well. Randoming into a second undead base type hero allows the Death Knight to perhaps play a little bit further back and allow the Pit Lord to play further front. All right, Shadowhunter down to 108 hit points. Is he going to be forced to use the Scroll of Town Portal already? Death Knight now trying to back away here. Shadowhunter already down to 70 hit points, down to 43. Scroll of Town Portal used in time as the Dryads are showing up here as well. Footmen, well, there's a little bit of a party. Pit Lord and Death Knight. Is he going to get to level 4? I believe so. And the Death Knight getting to level 4 off of the Serpent Ward. Dexter now getting this Entangled Gold Mine. And LawLiet is going to have to really work hard to get this Northern Creep Camp. Clear out this Northern Mercenary Creep Camp and be able to spend that plethora of gold. A lot of money in the bank. But money in the bank, as, you know, professional... or any fan of a professional baseball team, doesn't win you games on the field. And that's what we're seeing right now. 1,000 gold in the bank, but that Shadowhunter is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Already down to 95 hit points. Is he going to Potion of Healing? Yes, he's going to try and make its way back in. There's a Staff of Sanctuary. There's a Scroll of Town Portal trying to retreat back out. There's an Inner Fire, and LawLiet able to back away temporarily, but the Shadowhunter once more in trouble, heading back off to the north. We are going into triple Griffin Aviaries, though. Dragon Hawk Riders and Animal War Training nearly done. There is a Guard Tower and an Arcane Tower at the front door, and that front door is going to act as a deterrent. There is a blacksmith here. We are getting our weapon upgrades, and the Dryads, well, are going to try to go up against all of these units here. Shadowhunter, oh, Mountain King now out on the battlefield. All right, I'm surprised that the Shadowhunter has not tried to, well, oh, there's that Staff of Sanctuary, giving it to the Shadowhunter there. That Shadowhunter is going to try to heal up easily. Death Knight, Pit Lord, looking to get to level 3 on the Pit Lord, perhaps that front line is going to be very helpful. The Dryads, however, are going to try to go toe-to-toe with Dragonhawk Riders themselves. There's Gloves of Haste. Dragonhawk Riders do have Command Aura and also do have 1-0 weapon upgrades and that Animal War training, so their hit points are rather high here, going up against 0-0 upgraded units. All right, Shadowhunter could be in a little bit of trouble. All right, Shadowhunter, what's going to happen? Shadowhunter going to try and Healing Wave. There's a... Oh, that's a lot of problems. Scroll of Town Portal. Death Knight now being forced to retreat back. Shadowhunter holding steady at 139 hit points, and all those units able to fall back. Shadowhunter once more getting Staff of Sanctuary, sent back home, and will get healed up. We're looking at 64 supply compared to 48. Where is all of this supply at? 25 workers. That is quite the number of workers here. And, well, that Tuskar Sorcerer here as well. So, Dragonhawk Riders, 725 hit points each. There's that Marauder. I believe that is a 4 or 5 supply unit. Difficult to remember. After all of the possible units in WarCraft 3. My apologies. Well, sorry, not sorry. There's just so many, and sometimes custom games also change their numbers as well, so it's nearly impossible to know. Good morning, Burrow Rush. Good to see ya. Mountain King going after the Magnetar Giant Polar Bear Creep Camp. Going to place down a couple of Ivory Towers here, and they're going to upgrade most likely the Guard Towers as well. All right, Dragonhawk Rider, Staff of Sanctuary, sending it back home already. Mountain King sitting at level 2. Shadowhunter joins in on the battlefield. Mountain King with that Medallion of Courage. Going to be a big item there, helping that Mountain King hit a little bit harder as well. There's that expansion that we were expecting. And, well, with that Mountain King having up to 345 mana, that's plenty of bullets in the chamber to use. Shadowhunter needs to find a way to heal, need to get more clarity potions. Not quite sure why he's not getting them, as the Mountain King is going to easily get to level 3 after this 7-5-4 creep camp is cleared. Chieftain now taken down. Mountain King picks up a Sobi Mask. That is going to definitely be big mana on that Mountain King, perhaps even given to the Shadowhunter as well. Both extremely useful. Shadowhunter, the one to pick up the Tome of Agility, since the Shadowhunter, as mana intensive as he is an agility-based hero, and therefore will deal a little bit more damage. Thank you for the resub. Oh, wow. So my notifications are working now. All right. Subs, I wasn't even sure subs and things like that worked on my channel since, well, since it's been so long since I've actually had someone sub while I was streaming. For all of you guys out there, thank you for the reminder, Burrow Rush. If you guys do have a free sub, do remember to use it. Use your Amazon Prime free sub on a channel you want to support. Always definitely a big help there. All right. Hey, would you consider casting some games of Back to WarCraft someday if they ask? I would have loved to cast some more games with Back to WarCraft, right? Like, I don't think we have mutual respect for each other. There's no animosity, and yeah, they just, sometimes my schedule just doesn't allow it. Being a father of 3, you know, children with activities on the weekend, you know, have to prioritize family as well. So I've seen too many people well, focus on their careers or focus on their hobbies and lose their families. So or you hear those stories often. Not something I want to do, but I am open to it. I just don't know if I can set aside, like, you know, like a 4-hour tournament cast, but I would love to. It's tough, right? Time is the only resource that you don't know how much you have, but you often spend like you have a lot of it. All right. Doom scrolling. Anyways, let's go ahead, break things back down. 3-0 upgrades on the Dragonhawk Riders there. Meanwhile, back down to the south, Hippogriff. These are just normal Hippogriffs, not the Hippogriff Riders. We also have Dryads on the bottom. And the Hippogriffs and Dryads, this is an interesting conundrum, right? normally Dragonhawk Riders versus Hippogriffs, it's whoever has the higher number wins out on the battle. If you have the ability to shackle everything down, well, that's great for you, and then you just stand there. However, the counter flip side, oh wow, what is this? LawLiet, remember, he had 25 workers early on. He's just overtaking the entire map. All right, so LawLiet taking over the entire map. There's a couple of shackles. Those are all strategic shackles, making it difficult for the Dryads to get underneath. Now, however, the Dryads are there. Hippogriffs are going to be able to tear all of these Dragonhawk Riders apart. I do not think LawLiet was expecting this, and with the slow poison, it is difficult for those Dragonhawk Riders to escape. There's a Staff of Sanctuary. There are 2 of them, but is it going to really be enough as the Dragonhawk Riders, well, Dryads able to focus down more units. There's another Staff of Sanctuary. Units are still trying to retreat back here. We need to see some workshops with flying machines, perhaps, as the Mountain King could be in trouble. Mountain King does have the Ankh of Reincarnation. He's going to try to fight his way through. There's a Stormbolt onto the Death Knight. Mountain King trying to bash his way out. There's a healing wave here, and, well, the Staff of Sanctuary, Staff of Sanctuary still on cooldown, perhaps. Shadow Hunter is going to Scroll of Town Portal, time this, allow the Mountain King to perhaps reach its way out, and beautifully done. LawLiet, knowing the 5-second cooldown resurrection time on that Ankh of Reincarnation, used the Scroll of Town Portal so that the Mountain King would be able to be TP'd once he was pulled out. Oh, a little bit of an overstretch perhaps by Dexter, fighting within guard towers and mass shackle. This is a definite problem. Death Knight does not have a Scroll of Town Portal. They have no easy way out of this. And now we're looking at the Footman, and this is going to be a big hold. Dexter overcommitting, losing his army of Hippogriffs right there. Oh, he did not. It felt like Dexter did not like the play, that just beautiful play of being able to TP back that Mountain King, and in doing so ended up overcommitting, not respecting the 2 guard towers. Now, perhaps he respected the 2 guard towers, but he didn't respect the layout of the city. All the Dragonhawk Riders are back here. The Dryads were here. The Hippogriffs went straight in, and the Dryads couldn't work together with the Hippogriff Riders to free or take down those Dragonhawk Riders easily. Off to the north, LawLiet, massive number of guard towers already here. Are we going to get Masonry upgrade? That's what I'm wondering now. We also have a 1 Goblin Shredder joining in, so that's going to be all the lumber you need, and that's where all the workers are. This is a huge problem. I do not know if Dexter realizes how bit of a problem he is currently in. 4 bases to 2, soon to be 3 bases to 1. Or maybe even 2 bases to 0 if he is not careful. LawLiet is just slowly choking him out across the entire map. And as long as LawLiet doesn't fumble here, should easily take this game. He has 3-1 upgrades going up against 1-2, has more gold in the bank, and has equal level heroes with that Mountain King about to hit level 5. Alright, Death Knight on the move here. Druid of the Claw staying in Druid form, perhaps just hoping to get more and more rejuvenations going. There's a flying machine keeping track of the army. What the heck? There's a Fell Stalker and a Dryad? Just hanging out over here? Alright. Is there anything up on the north? No. Okay, nope. Not completely mirrored. Alright, units getting ready to engage here. There's a new lumber mill being placed down, and there's a cannon tower in the back. Damage already being placed here. Alright, Dark Wizard has chaos damage. Level 8. There's a big roar, so giving bonus damage to the entire army. That Druid of the Claw in Druid form taking quite a bit of damage before being sent back home. Alright, if you wanted to go into a base race mode when you are down on bases, well, you're soon going to find yourself 0 bases to 2 here. However, well, Dexter knew he was in a losing position. He knew he needed to take down at least one of these town halls. He perhaps would have preferred to hold on to what he had, but, well, knew that he needed to make a play. Whether or not it's the right play, that is the question now, as Dexter TPing back home to try and save the infrastructure, if not necessarily this gold mine that only has 80 gold left in it. All right, both sides continuing the fight. There goes the enraged Wildkin, Mountain King, Dexter, Bandit Lord trying to trap out that Mountain King. There's the invulnerability, that divine shield, as the Bandit Lord trying to get in front after all those units. Drew to the Claw, down to 34 hit points. He's going to get Staff of Preservation back out. Shadowhunter sitting at level 6. Wait, do we actually have a way to deal with, to stun the... Oh, Big Bad Voodoo. That's what I was talking about. Big Bad Voodoo. Beautiful positioning on LawLiet right there. However, he's not going to be able to last forever. Down to 32 hit points. That was a Death Coil and a lot of Focus Fire to try and take him down. And he ended up staying alive. So even with good positioning, Big Bad Voodoo just puts a giant target on the back of the Shadowhunter. And with that, well... you saw that could have gone sideways for LawLiet. LawLiet perhaps getting a little bit too cute right there. But, well, LawLiet, level 1 masonry upgrades are done. Are we getting level 2? We are. Well, there's actually multiple lumber mills, so difficult to tell. Is it down here? No. Yeah. One of those things where I guess back in the day, observers would be like, hey, how come you didn't keep track of the upgrades? I'm like, well, there's 3 lumber mills. It's nearly impossible to know if he's getting tier 2 when upgrade could be in 3 different places. All right, LawLiet getting a level 9 Elder Warlock here. Shadowhunter sitting at 500 hit points and rising. Mountain King may need a Staff of Sanctuary, another Dragonhawk Rider here. We are looking at 3-2 upgrades, not getting 3-3. And we are now perhaps going to have the Death Knight. Nope, not going to be able to hire anything new, but trying to bring everything all over. Dexter sitting at 42 supply compared to LawLiet 74. There's another Staff of Sanctuary saving a Dragonhawk Rider there. And, well, there's a quick shackle on that Hippogriff. That Hippogriff no longer nearly as scared. Mountain King in that frontline spot. They're going to be a Stormbolt onto the Dark Wizard. There's that touch of pain. And we're still looking at more Dragonhawk Riders perhaps going to try and poke across some of these units here. All right, Staff of Sanctuary, or Staff of Preservation saves there. Stormbolt onto a Druid of the Claw. 36 supply now, and things are just continuing to go sideways as the Dark Wizard needs to regroup with this army. There's a Howl of Terror, minus 13 damage. Great damage reduction. Pit Lord using that Orb of Venom, being able to attack up onto the high ground here. Death Knight also being able to shoot up with these attacks. Pit Lord absorbing that damage. Howl of Terror, and we're still looking at these units continuing to push through more and more. All right, Dexter's, well, Bandit Lord does get taken down. Elder Warlock continuing to fight. Perhaps we still see more touch of pain as the Pit Lord is just absorbing damage and being able to fight back easily. Remember, the Howl of Terror greatly reduces the amount of damage the Dragonhawk Riders are dealing, and on top of that, Piercing versus Heroic means that, even with the other Chaos and other damage here, that 600 hit point heal is just providing so much coverage. All right, Death Knight, a Pit Lord, perhaps trying to get to the Doom Guard. Mountain King, perhaps trying to get to Avatar state. And Dragonhawk Riders are fully upgraded at 3-3. Pit Lord does have level 3 Howl of Terror, entangling this gold mine now, so it's still trying to get a little bit of gold out. It is currently 3 gold mines versus 0. An uphill battle indeed. As we're looking at, well, 74 supply. All right, there's level 6 now on the Mountain King, quickly storm-bolting down that Renegade Wizard, and that is gonna be the game right there. LawLiet, not trying to use completely overwhelming resources, still sitting on 2,600 gold at the end of the game, as Dexter didn't realize the walls were slowly caving in around him as LawLiet took that 3rd and eventual 4th base. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below. That Big Bad Voodoo, let me know if you think my interpretation on Big Bad Voodoo is accurate. Big Bad Voodoo, very situational, can be a very powerful item, but even if your opponent doesn't have the ability to stun or stop that channeling ability, just as Dexter did here, we saw the hero nuke and the auto attacks nearly took down that rather squishy high agility Shadowhunter. Let me know in the comments below.